The opening was really important, I guess, as it always is, the where you go in and the way you go out. And this shows the drones being used. It's quite a sort of rich drone, which again is this sort of shifting sand on which we float the rest of it. And the core melody is this traditional Armenian duduk, which is such a beautiful, haunting sound. And that was the original recording that I used and then built around that melodically. The rhythm is something that I've begun a number of years previously with Manny Elias, who's a drummer from Bath, and I just started playing around actually for another song. But I always liked this groove. It felt quite fresh to me, and it was building on a sort of tom-tom part. And this Egyptian percussionist, Hassan Ramsey, that I began working with on the project, we overdubbed a few times to thickening up and developing the rhythm. When we first talked about the film, Marty was very keen to get something that was really ancient and contemporary, of a place and yet of every place, so that really one could try and create something which felt as if it had real sweat, blood, and tears in it, but wasn't, although Middle Eastern influence, wasn't specific and authentic in that way, but had its own sort of character. He and I were both very keen to avoid some of the musical cliches of Christ Goes to the Movies. And I think there were a lot of ideas thrown around. Marty had some strong opinions of some people he wanted me to integrate, and whose work he wanted me to play with. And I spent some time in the National Sound Archive trying to do some research and educate myself a little bit. And although, I didn't try and master Arabic scales, I was just trying to soak in some of the feelings and find key performers who I thought could bring power and passion. Shankar has an extraordinary instrument which was specially designed for him, which is a sort of double violin, or like a sort of violin, but they're beautifully made, and he can get very deep, sort of resonant sounds out of it, and he knows how to work with the electronics too, so that the range of sounds that he can get from it is extraordinary. And the thing I particularly like about it is that he can also focus on the breath coming out of the strings, and he does that better than any other player I know, in the sense that he uses that, so in fact, so almost to the exclusion sometimes of the main body of the note. So you have this really delicate, fragile, quivering sound. I started off as a drummer, and it was partly the invention of a drum machine that led me to get further into world music, in the sense that suddenly, for the first time, I could program rhythms that I couldn't play, or that I could then have the machine play and compose to. And that's perfectly common now, but at the time, it was revolutionary for a musician. That encouraged me to go into a lot of other musics and look at rhythms. I find it very hard to say no to an interesting diversion or distraction. And in a way, that is also a useful thing when it comes to working with film score, because you get strange colors or a breakdown in equipment that produces a strange noise. Something doesn't work, but it ends up giving you more information and a better idea than the one you first started with. So I think if you have an open mind, you can get a sort of richer feeling into the tapestry. I'm not someone like many composers who has one single idea that is very clear and they go after that and follow it down. I throw a lot of things out, spiral around, and then come in towards the center if I find the path. But I was basically working on the principle, if in doubt, drone, which gets you through a lot of awkward moments. And then as a singer too, I think I was always particularly moved by great voices. And Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, who's now getting quite well known, but at the time wasn't, was just one of the many incredible voices that we got a chance to work with on that. And in that, there's something really spiritual, passionate, and I think many of these elements were sort of sticking out and asking to be heard and to be used in a way. But that palette hadn't been collected in that way before. I think my favorite cue in the film is the piece that was called Passion, which is when Christ is carrying the cross through the city. And this, I knew from when I'd gone out to visit the set and Marty showed me that section that this had to really get it more than any other scene, because it was a precursor, obviously, to the crucifixion. The musical map, if you like, was established with the chord progressions. And then the drone, again, was this sort of moving, living carpet. In a way, it was a little like floating over this scene, because the camera's also got these views from above. So through the music, you should feel as if you've taken off, as if in a dream, and you're floating above this scene and perceiving it really with all sort of richness and full color of a dream state, that lucid dream state. Marty was really going after something to break new ground in terms of approaching Christ and the humanity that you would sort of feel and smell it as if you're inside it and not just looking at this sort of glossed wonder world that would make you sort of sit back in reverence. This was something visceral and physical and passionate, and those are the things that I got excited about. And it has the extraordinary singing of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, who I think is the best qawwali singer in the world, and perhaps, you know, one of the best, if not the best singer for my taste. It's so passionate, and qawwali music is Sufi music, and Nusrat comes from Pakistan, and it's obviously spiritual music and devotional, and I think just can lift things up to extraordinary heights. So as you finish this walk, it sort of builds up to rhythmic climax. And it was actually a Brazilian rhythm that I'd recorded maybe 10 years previous that had been a foundation for that idea.
Father, I'm sorry for being a bad son.
The interplay between the violin, between Nusrat singing, and then the English choir boy Julian, that was the thing that I think I was most satisfied with in all this work. I think the whole experience of working on The Last Temptation and Passion has been fantastic for me. I've learned so much, and I think it helped sort of steer me into a different direction musically, because at the beginning I had a lot of doubts as to whether I could pull it off, and work with so many different people from so many different backgrounds and try and get some sense of wholeness to it, some identity to it. And I think Marty was very good at encouraging people that he works with to push themselves. And it's, I think, changed the way that I approach things now in my own work. So it's been a great experience.